thrill me.
This show is part of the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Experience more on Facebook and YouTube.
It's Review It Man, reviewing what he can. Movies are his jam, so let's get twisted, man. It's Review It Rob.
Heyo, you lovely people. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Review It Rob Show. I am, of course, your host, Review It Rob, coming at you with all kinds of goodies this week, man. Got the DC horror news as mandatory every single episode. Got a special review for you this week, spoiler-free, of the new MCU film Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and all other kinds of news going around in the entertainment realm. Appreciate you joining in and listening to the show, and for a, random time, that's what you get with me here, man. Hope you all have been doing great, man. Please hit that like, subscribe, share of the show, as well as the Throw Me Podcast Network on all the podcatchers. You can find all of our shows, Metal Groove Podcast, Haunters Podcast is back with the Haunt season slashing up. We've got Mr. Wonderful has returned. So many fun things. Core Memory Unlocked. So many good things going on the Throw Me Podcast Network as well. On that YouTube, we had some events going on over the weekend. We had the Mayhem event where I defended my championship. We had an awesome event where Zach went live for over 3 hours, almost 4 hours was live, doing some good stuff down there, man. So check that out. Those are live on our, well, they're not live anymore, of course, but they are on our Throw Me Podcast Network YouTube right now. If you want to zoom in and check those things out, man, they are a good time. As well, you can check out our Patreon and TeePublic and all that good stuff, man. But yeah, thank you for joining in and listening to the show. Going to talk about some fun, interesting things here. But, first off, let's, dive into what I did over the weekend. It's the last time we talked, right? Always got to jump into it. Didn't really do much. I did go see Guardians of the Galaxy. Other than that, I've been watching some more old school wrestling on the Peacock. Played some wrestling actually on WWE 2K as well. Running through the My Rise, having a lot of fun with that, man. Definitely better this year than it was last year. And just doing the thing, I guess. Nothing all that wild going on. What I can remember. Crazy day today, by the way. A little scatterbrained, trying to be positive and upbeat. Got off work, blew a tire on the ride home. So that was an adventure. And then getting a tire and all that, it's just, absolute nonsense. But thankfully, everything's all right. We're ready to move on. And let's, speaking of moving on, let's go ahead and move right into this week's review. Of course, spoiler-free, as always. I do not spoil anything on this show. Definitely don't do it on purpose, but I do everything I can not to spoil stuff. So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the latest MCU film to hit theaters and the conclusion to the Guardians of the Galaxy James Gunn trilogy, is rated PG-13 for intense sequences of violence, action, strong language, suggestive/drug references, and thematic elements. Movie is a sci-fi adventure running in at 2 hours and 30 minutes. This one is a long film, no doubt about it. And it is currently only in theaters, of course. The beloved band of misfits are looking a bit different these days. Peter Quill, still reeling from the loss of Gamora, must rally his team around him to defend the universe along with protecting one of their own. A mission that, if not completed successfully, could quite possibly lead to the end of the Guardians as we know them. Film is on Rotten Tomatoes with a critic score of 82%, while the audience is much happier at a 95%, and IMDb has it at an 8.4 out of 10. So, what were my thoughts of the film, man? So, Guardians of the Galaxy was an interesting story for me, with how it all started, going back to the first film, because this is a trilogy, so we can kind of go through the films a little bit here. Of course, spoiler free again. I did watch the movies again leading up to the new release here. So I remember when the first Guardians film came out. At this time, I was watching Marvel movies. I didn't really catch on to the Marvel films until Avengers, and then I kind of stuck with it since then. But yeah, I remember when Guardians was announced, I was like, a talking raccoon in a tree that only says 3 words. Like, yeah, this seems ridiculous and stupid, man. It's probably going to be one of the worst movies of the year. And then I went into the theaters and watched it. It came out of it, I'm like, I freaking really enjoyed that, man. What a film, what an adventure, what a time, man. That first Guardians of the Galaxy movie is so freaking solid and really, really good. And just everybody in the film is fantastic. So I had to bite my own words on that one. Eat my own words on it. And then from going there, I was like, okay, what are the Guardians up to, man? I'm into the Guardians. And then we got the second film, which wasn't as good as the first movie. And watching it again recently, still not the biggest fan of it. There are parts, of course, that I do enjoy about it and all that. The introduction of Mantis was awesome. And Mantis is a great character and everything. And, the forced laughter of characters and all that stuff. A little bit too much. Could have done without, but still enjoyed the movie for a good turn. But definitely not as good as that first movie. And then we had them in the other movies, the Infinity War and Endgame. It's always cool to see them. Like those characters, I really became a pretty big fan of. So it was always cool to see them in those movies. And then didn't like them in Thor: Love and Thunder. I think they were really wasted in Thor: Love and Thunder. It made him look weak and unimportant, honestly. That's one of my biggest grudges with Thor: Love and Thunder. But then we had the holiday special, which was freaking awesome. Don't sleep on that holiday special. That's such a good time. That is on Disney Plus. And then finally, here we are with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which we knew going in for a multitude of reasons was going to be probably the last Guardians of the Galaxy film for a while, if not ever. We know that James Gunn was leaving. James Gunn was fired. James Gunn was fired by Disney before doing the film, but was ultimately brought back to finish this trilogy, and then whatever's going to happen from there was going to happen. Well, what ends up happening is James Gunn now becomes person over at DC, and he's doing the DCU now, and he's working on the DC studios and all that good stuff. And that's the future for James. So James is done, over there with Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy. So this press tour with Guardians and everything's kind of like his farewell song to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and to the Guardians of the Galaxy and everything like that. And then we've heard, from the performers in the film as well, that they were pretty much done with everything. I know Dave's been the most, outright with it. Dave Batista, of course, for us wrestling fans. He was out there, right there. He was like, I'm done playing the character and everything like that. So we knew that he was done. Zoe Saldana was really ready to be done with it. She was ready to be done. I think around part 2, I think, if I remember correctly, with James Gunn talking, she was about done. She was almost killed off in part 2, but that ultimately did not happen. It ended up happening in a later film, Endgame, which you all should have seen Endgame already, so it's not really a spoiler there. So we knew that these characters weren't coming back, right? Like a good bit of them, we were questioning other things. Then they started dropping the trailers, and we started having to worry about Rocket. Like, dude, these trailers are way too focused on Rocket. What the hell is going to happen to Rocket? And that's kind of my, first part to start here with the Guardians of the Galaxy talk. It is very much focused on Rocket. It's a character that's kind of always been he's had a heart to the series, but always just kind of like the comedy and the smart aleck, wisecracking character, as you would expect from a talking raccoon. But this movie is very focused around him, and the heart of the story is Rocket and Rocket's backstory, which, again, not giving any spoilers, but it is tough things to see. I mean, if you followed this story and you followed Rocket, Rocket was a manipulated creature. Like, you can see it. You can see the robotic pieces and everything in him. So something was done with evil intent with Rocket. And we never really saw it before, but you see in this movie, and that's a warning to you. Like, it's tough, and there is a lot of dread and feelings while watching this movie. Like, when I was watching the movie in theaters, there's just moments where I was like, oh, this is tough. Like, this is tough to see and all that stuff. And it's hard to compare it to anything because, again, this is, of course, there's CGI characters and all that stuff, but you've grown so attached to these characters, and even if you if you have a heart, it's gonna pull on the strings of it when you're watching it, and those are some tough scenes to see, without a doubt. And just man, leads me into the villain of this movie. Like, freaking A, dude, the villain in this movie, the High Evolutionary, played by Chawudi. I suck with names, I'm sorry, but he does a fantastic job. First and foremost, fantastic, performance by the actor. No doubt about it whatsoever. But this character is honestly one of the first, like, legitimate villains I think I've seen in a while. Like we always get those villains in films and all that stuff, but there's always like this. I don't know, like when you see the Joker and all that, you're like, oh, we know the Joker's a bad guy. We're like, yeah, the Joker's like cool. We like the Joker. We understand the Joker. We get that. We don't understand this guy. We don't like this guy. He is an ass to all assholes. He is just the worst character imaginable. And honestly, probably one of the best villains in, not even probably, definitely one of the best villains in MCU history because you just don't like him. You don't like, I mean, I'm a Wizarding World guy. You know how everybody hates Dolores Umbridge? We all hate this guy. This guy's worse, by the way, without a shadow of a doubt, much worse. But just soulless, horrible, horrible person. And that's what a villain's supposed to be. And like I said, this first time in a while, like, I mean, all of us want to say, well, Loki's not a bad guy anymore. Loki's like a anti-hero at this point. Loki started as a villain, but I mean, you got Thanos. Thanos is the main thing there. And then you've got, Vulture, but Vulture's turning around and all that stuff. Like, I don't know. It's too much to dive into, but, like, honestly, I got no problem saying this. This character is 100 times worse to me than Kang the Conqueror is. It's just absolutely menacing, absolutely villainous. Like, there's nothing about that character that you hope for the best in. You hope for anything in. You just want to see that villain get its comeuppance because you freaking do not like this guy. And again, that is a great performance by the actor. There's nothing against the actor, it's the character, and that character is freaking the worst. The absolute worst, 100 times more terrifying than Kang the Conqueror, as far as I'm concerned. So let's see. As for the rest of the film, like it is a solid film. Like I said, it's mostly focused on Rocket and Rocket's story and the characters trying to save the galaxy. As always, there are some good comedy bits in it, as you would expect from there. But there's a lot of good heart and you know story involved around it. It's not just a boom bang, let's throw some fireworks around kind of thing with a lackluster story and cookie cutter kind of vibe that some of these Marvel movies have. Like it is a solid freaking film that you absolutely should see over and over again. Again, it's gonna be a tough watch. There's no doubt about it. Not because the movie's bad itself, just because some of the subject material in the film is very tough to see. But the film itself overall is a solid film that I will probably end up being in my top 10 films of the year. We'll see how things go. It's still early, of course, but I could see this being there. Like, this is the first time, and I was excited for this movie, man. I was hyped for it, even though I saw the trailer. I'm like, what are we doing to Rocket? I don't like how this is looking. Um, but I still, like I said, I've grown to really like these characters, and these characters have become favorites for me in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So now that they're essentially, we don't know what's going to happen. And, of course, I'm not providing any spoilers. So, we have to wait and see what the future could hold there. But we know James is gone. Dave said he's done. Zoe said she's done. We'll see what happens with the rest of the gang here. But, you know, I, a lot of them are James Gunn people, and they've already talked about how they want to do things with James Gunn over in the DCU and all that stuff. Like Bradley Cooper was the recent one. And remember my theory about Bradley Cooper, he's going to be Batman. Probably, we'll see what happens there. Who knows? But yeah, Palm says she wants to come over. Karen Gillian's talked about coming over there. Chris Pratt's been talked about. All of them have been talked about going over there, man. So, oh, Cosmo the Space Dog is in this movie as well. That was a new character for the film, which was announced. It's not a spoiler. Fun stuff with Cosmo and Kraglin in the film and all that stuff. And I like the movie. I really enjoyed it. Top solid movie for me this year. Do I put it above Mario or Megan? I don't think so. I'm gonna have to sit on that for a little bit, but that doesn't mean the movie's not good. Like, it is a really good movie that you should check out and see. So much so that the movie got an award from PETA. Frickin' PETA gave this movie an award for its outstanding animal rights masterpiece. Frickin' PETA, dude. PETA gave the movie an award for being a masterpiece in animal rights and showing, um, you know, being talking about animal cruelty and all that. They called it a masterpiece and said it's the best animal rights movie of the year. So there you go. There's another positive for the film right there. But overall, thoroughly enjoyed that, man, and had a good time with it, which will lead into my news as we go into DC news. Of course, James Gunn being the head of DC Studios, co-head of DC Studios. One question was asked to him recently. He was doing a Twitter Q&A, and he said all the questions have to be focused on the Guardians of the Galaxy. That was the rule, and somebody asked a pretty clever question. They said, will any cast member of Guardians of the Galaxy be in Superman Legacy? To which James Gunn answered, yes. Now, we can go a couple ways with this. We can go the fun way of, oh, Will Poulter is going to be Superman in Superman Legacy. I can see it, especially after watching him play Adam Warlock. I can see it. Why not? It could happen. We can go to the crazy fan theory out there that Chris Pratt is going to be Superman. I don't see that. And James Gunn's already said Chris Pratt's a little too old to play the character. And then we could go the obvious way here. And what I mean by that is there's a certain person who's been in pretty much every James Gunn movie, if not every single James Gunn movie, being Sean Gunn. So yes, Sean Gunn will be in Superman Legacy in some way, shape, or form, and Sean Gunn is a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy cast. So that is probably where that is going to end up going if we really wanted to, circle around things. But yeah, I mean, the fun answer for me, Will Poulter is Superman. I can see it. I can see it. All right, let's see. Moving other DC news. Didn't have much DC news going on this week. Let's see. Flash film production designer and Oscar winner Paul Osterberry says that he's not too concerned about the stories surrounding Ezra Miller affecting the film, saying people will forget, noting that Miller did a superb job playing the hero as two distinct characters, which required production to shoot the film in two different chunks, with Ezra switching roles every few days. End quote. Yeah, like I don't know why it's still a story. Like I said multiple times on this show already, if people read more than clickbaity headlines, like this would not be news anymore. They would understand. Oh, okay, well Ezra, got drunk because he's using alcohol as a crutch for mental health and threw some stuff and broke into a house and all that stuff. That's it. That's the only thing that's happened with Ezra. Other than that, which is not fine, obviously, not supporting that part, but that freaking worst of the worst things they're saying about Ezra, not even close to being true. Not even close to being true. Again, just read more than headlines. But yeah, I agree. I mean, this film is going to be probably the biggest film of the year. Has that chance to be the biggest film of the year, and it's just going to be insanely beloved. So there you go. Jumping into horror news, this goes into something that's kind of going on in Hollywood right now. Mr. Wonderful talked about it on his show, and he said I might mention it, and I am going to mention it. There's the writers' strike going on in Hollywood right now, as writers deserve to do. They deserve to be paid fairly, of course. And now we've got some things being put on hold. Many things are being put on hold due to this, including the fifth and final season of Stranger Things has now officially been halted because of the strike. So a lot of us, if you're a fan like myself of the series, you are looking forward to the season, and now we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for the final season to come. As well, MCU film Blade has also been put on hold, which is nothing new. That movie's been put on hold a ton of times. Talked about the Flash a moment ago. This movie is starting to get into that Flash realm for how many times it's being placed on hold and placed on the back burner and reworked and trying to figure out this and trying to figure out that with it. Now, of course, this one has to do with the strike as well. But again, Blade has been going through a lot of issues trying to get that movie up and running. So this is just the latest in trouble for the Blade film. Hopefully they'll get everything figured out and Hollywood will decide to, pay the writers respectfully as they deserve to be paid, because these things don't exist without the writers. All right, let's see. Jumping into news that broke today, Tom Hiddleston, we mentioned him a moment ago, as Loki. He and Mark Hamill are set to star in an upcoming Stephen King adaptation called The Life of Chuck. Mike Flanagan, of all people, will be directing this as well. What a trio there. The Life of Chuck is 3 separate stories linked to tell the biography of Charles Krantz in reverse, beginning with his death from a brain tumor at the age of 39, and ending with his childhood in a supposedly haunted house. The film is said to draw tonally from Stand By Me, The Shawshank Redemption, and Green Mile. Again, what a trilogy. This is has all the potential to be pretty good. Mike Flanagan's killed it with those Netflix shows and other stuff he's done. Tom Hiddleston, good actor. Mark Hamill, we all love him, right? So, and Stephen King, his stuff's always interesting. So, very good possibility of being a solid thing there. Talking Stephen King stuff, filming has kicked off for the Welcome to Derry prequel show to the It movies from Andy Machete. Andy took to his Instagram over the weekend to share a first look behind the scenes photo from the set. The photo you'll find shows an office tour of Derry's chief of police, Clint Bowers. A new member of the Bowers family will be meeting in Welcome to Derry. So Bowers was like the villain of the whole thing, right? So Chief of Police Bowers. Yeah. Okay, I kind of remember that now. Okay, so that's the character we're looking at going into this prequel series. Definitely looking forward to that show, man. I enjoyed the It films, and again, Andy Machete's fantastic. He's got the Flash film coming out this year, which looks like he created the greatest comic book film of all time, according to a lot of people. So give him everything, man. Let him keep making stuff. Let's see. Beetlejuice. We talked about that last week, and we've got some more confirmation that this seems to be actually happening. The Beetlejuice sequel is getting more speculation around it, as composer Danny Elfman, who does a fantastic job in everything he's done. He's freaking the soundtrack to a lot of awesome films, especially Tim Burton movies. Apparently he's coming back as well. He tells, "I love being a fly on the wall when Tim's shooting. I'll be doing that in a couple of months, as you may know, on another Tim Burton project. That is very exciting to return to that world." I also teased it's perfect. Everybody else has to play the next generation except for Michael Keaton. I mean, he's still like really fit, really active, and really on it. And with the Beetlejuice makeup, I can't even imagine it's going to look like he's changed practically at all. So I can't wait for that, end quote. So confirmation there that they're definitely working on this sequel as well. I'm into it. Just let's finally get this thing. This is something that's been rumored for a long time. We don't know really any full effects other than Michael Keaton will be back. Rumors of Jenna Ortega. We'll see. Fine with that. This generation Scream Queen. She's fantastic. We would hope Winona Ryder's back as well, and any other returning cast members would be great. But we'll have to wait and see on that front, shall we? But I am here for it, man. I like some Beetlejuice stuff. See, Evil Dead Rise, the film that released earlier, a couple weeks ago, man. Pretty fun film. I did my review on that. You can go check that out. Evil Dead Rise is hitting digitals this week, May 9th. The film will also be released, available for purchase on 4K UHD combo pack, Blu-ray, and DVD June 27th. Hey, that's my birthday. So, if y'all want to buy me the Blu-ray DVD copy of Evil Dead Rise for my birthday, don't do it. Because I don't really collect movies anymore. But if you want to buy me the digital version of, no, I'm just kidding. That's pretty cool, man. That's releasing on my birthday. Not a lot of stuff ever happens on my birthday, including parties for me. What? Sad. Anyways, that's cool, man. I like that movie. That was a pretty fun movie. So, the Evil Dead franchise is, what am I reviewing that movie again for? Go check out my other review. Let's see. And then in other news, Fantastic Four casting news. This is just a rumor, but it's coming from a source that has got a lot of respect. A noted MCU leaker by the name of My Time to Shine Hello states that Kylo Ren actor Adam Driver has accepted the role and will play Reed Richards in the MCU going forward. Of course, going forward, remember, what's his face? Jim from The Office played it. John Krasinski, I forgot his name for a second. He played Reed Richards in Doctor Strange. Now it's apparently going to be Adam Driver going forward. The film is scheduled to make its debut on February 14th, 2025. We'll see how that is after the writer's strike and everything. See if that'll, cause any issues there. But nonetheless, cool. I mean, I like Adam Driver. I don't know enough about the comics. I've seen a lot of people complaining about this, as they do with any comic book related property. There's always some kind of, drama, I guess, kind of like the Halloween Horror Nights community. But speaking of, actually, going back to Danny Elfman for a second, not really Halloween Horror Nights, but he's also composing for Universal's Epic Universe. He's going to be doing the score for the Universal Monsters Land at Epic Universe, which, none of that stuff's been officially announced yet. But freaking Danny Elfman over here just spilling all the tea or beans or whatever you want to call it Like he's just letting all the cats out the bag. Look at all these things I'm saying. Um, so yeah, that's awesome, dude. As a huge Universal fan, like I've been waiting for Epic Universe and news from Epic Universe, and it's always been rumored that there's gonna be a Universal Land and all that, but nothing, of course, officially announced. That's so cool and awesome that that's gonna happen. I mean, again, Danny Elfman, fantastic freaking composer. I listen to his stuff all the time, and him and John Williams, but and he did the theme for the Wolfman remake. There's been a lot of remakes. I want to say it was 2010. Let me double check on that. As I go to the Google machine, the Wolf, nope, nope, Wolfman, 20, 2010. Yep, 2010. So he did the score for that movie, and that theme is the theme that Halloween Horror Nights has used multiple times throughout its history. And, I have it on my HHN playlist, of course. It kicks off the HHN playlist on most occasions, and it's like synonymous now. So him doing the themed land score is really freaking awesome and really exciting. Like I like that idea. So where was I at? Fantastic Four. Adam Driver again. Talented actor. I don't know how it will be as Reed Richards. Again, he's a talented actor, and actors should be allowed to play roles. So best of luck to him. We don't know anything else about the rest of the cast. There's a rumor going around that Margot Robbie is going to play Sue Storm. Love her. So if that's the route they go, cool. Um, Austin Butler, who of course played Elvis, which is one of my favorite films. He's rumored to be playing Johnny Storm. Is that his name? The Flame guy, the Human Torch. I don't know much about Marvel people. I'm sorry. And then there's Mila Kunis apparently, which she's denied recently. I talked about that last week. Whatever the casting's gonna be, who cares? Just give me the movie. I'm gonna watch the movie. I don't care about the casting unless it's a certain person who's apparently quit Hollywood now, so I don't have to worry about her anymore, except for this Aquaman movie. Other than that, and those very subtle hints I just dropped at you, you know who I'm talking about without saying the name. Um, I don't care about the casting. We'll see what happens. That's cool. Whatever. Just do the movie, dude. A lot of the people that were cast before in the Marvel stuff, like, didn't. Who cares? They've all done great. So why are we worried about? I don't know, man. I don't get constant like hatred and unhappiness about casting and movies not being exactly like the comic books and all that stuff, man. I don't get it. I don't understand why that's a problem. Whatever. Let's see. Other news, music news. Taylor Swift. Uh-oh. That's right. I'm talking about Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift has let it known during her Nashville concert this week, which, by the way, major props to her. It was pouring down rain the final night of her concert there. She did 3 nights, and it was pouring down rain, and she still went out there and kicked ass until 2 a.m., performing in the pouring rain and going over curfew. So she's going to have to pay money and all that stuff for that. And she still did it for her fans, while there's bands out there like, I don't know, Falling in Reverse, who canceled a show because they didn't have a laptop. We're a rock band. We can't do our show because we don't have a laptop. Idiots. She went out there and destroyed it and did awesome. And the news here is that Speak Now has been announced at the concert. She said everything. She told all of her fans there in Nashville that Speak Now, her classic album, will be the next Taylor's version re-recorded album that will be releasing, and it will be releasing sooner than expected, as it will be out July 7th. So that is awesome news as a Tay-Tay fan, and I know I've got some people who listen to the show that are Tay-Tay fans. You should be a Tay-Tay fan. She's awesome, like I just explained to you. Give it to me, man. Can't wait. I'm excited for that one. And then, of course, that's it. That's all the news I had. Not a lot of news going on this week. It's not really anything releasing that I can think of this week to check out. There's that new Ben Affleck movie hitting theaters, but I don't know if I'd go to theaters to see it. Try to do a quick Google search here for you as I just add time to the episode. Let's see. It's from about 10 hours ago, so this seems up to date. That movie Air, starring Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, about the Air Jordan shoes, is hitting Prime Video this Friday. Let's see. I do not have Apple TV Plus, nor will I ever get Apple TV Plus, but there's a Michael J. Fox documentary, it looks like, coming up called Still, a Michael J. Fox movie that's hitting Apple TV Plus this Friday as well. The Ben Affleck movie I mentioned earlier is called Hypnotic. That's hitting theaters this week. yeah, again, not much other than that that's really catching the eye about what's releasing this week. So there you go. You can check those out. Um, other than that, yeah, not seeing anything else. But there you go, man. That's gonna do it for this episode. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 again. Very good end to the James Gunn trilogy of Guardians characters. Again, not going into spoiler territory, so can't talk about much else other than that. Other than it is a really good movie. If you enjoyed any of the Guardian stuff before, you're gonna love this movie. Of course, be warned, there is some tough, disturbing images in the film dealing with Rocket's backstory, but it makes sense to the story. It's not just there to be shock value or anything like that. It makes sense to the story, and it is a very good story. And you get your Guardians the feels and all that stuff, and everybody's great in the movie, and maybe their final run as the characters. We'll see what happens in the future. But as for now, man, that is the end of this episode. Appreciate you all joining in and having fun with me as I talk nonsense around the entertainment realm, mostly movies, of course. Appreciate you all. If you can please hit that like, subscribe, share, rate the show as well. That'd be awesome. Appreciate you all, and always remember that happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.